oblations with faith and devotion, either to the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu or his representative in Pitriloka Aryama, one's forefathers will attain material bodies to enjoy whatever material enjoyment is due to them. In other words, they don't have to become ghosts. Omigana Timarandasya Jnana Shamakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Shayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we just recap a little bit of the stories. The earth is withholding its bounty. It is the duty of the earth to supply the necessities to everyone. We are completely dependent on the earth in every aspect of our life. As Prabhupada said, Anad Bhavanti, he quoted Gita, Anad Bhavanti Bhutani Parjanyan Anasam. All living beings subsist on food grains. Food grains come from rain, and rain come from sacrifice. Sacrifice is prescribed in the Vedas, and therefore the all-pervading transcendent Lord is there in acts of sacrifice. And then he commented when he saw that in India people started to sarva kilbajai bunjate te to he has to sacrifice. And therefore the king has to protect the Brahmins. The opulence of the earth because people are not using it for sacrifice. Without the spiritual goal, things become useless. See, there's no, ultimately the spiritual is the most important. Of course people, intelligent people get the balance right. They know how much to take. You take what you need. They know to take what you need to dedicate yourself to God and not to give up those things that can be used in God's service, and at the same time keep your heart open for bhakti. But ultimately, the spiritual is the most important. If there's to err, then err on the spiritual. But try to be balanced. Try to see everything in relationship to the goal. The goal is jivasya tattva jigyasa. The goal is to realize truth, to realize tattva, realize reality. Because realizing reality will impel you to act according to reality. So therefore, there's a necessity to cultivate some understanding, not to become a scholar, but to actually have a proper understanding. And scholarship can be there to support the understanding, or scholarship can be there to help you clear others' doubts about the understanding. You don't have to be a scholar, but you have to have some fundamental understanding. Even if you see the simplest person in Krishna consciousness may not even read and write, they have an understanding. And sometimes they have a deeper understanding than a scholar has. But it's not that studying the Bhagavatam and learning these things won't help your faith. do your exercises later. Yeah. So, what's happening here is the earth is trying to pacify, and then she comes up finally with a practical solution that will pacify the king. If a calf is presented, the earth is personified as a cow. If the calf is presented, then naturally the affection will flow. And we discussed this, we're going over this story in so many ways. That's the basic principle of bhakti. That if you are dependent, like a calf, then you will attract the mercy of your maintainers. See, this personal conception, we discussed this in terms of Prahlad Maharaj, this personal conception of life, reciprocation relationship is not impartial, it's natural. A elevated person in God himself is the Dveshtasana. He's free from hate and like. Because it means he's not making, hate and like means material calculations. I hate you because you're not satisfying my desires. I like you because you are. So there's no such distinctions like that of duality in a spiritual person. But if there's relationship and they give more, it's not partiality. It's love. It's a natural reciprocation. And even if that love is there, it's a sacrifice for your desires. You may not even get your desires fulfilled. You just may have a loving relationship. The child is in your arms, you're a mother. The child is giving you nothing except trouble. You can't sleep at night. The child's waking up every 2 hours. You're completely now out of the center of the world. You're completely dictated by the whims and desires of this little 10-pound being. But you love, you reciprocate. Reciprocation is natural. So now here, what happens is all the various inhabitants of the planet who have different desires according to their modes manifest in some form of affection to attract the earth to reciprocate for what they need. Just like in Vrindavan, Krishna even told Indra, we told the residents of Vrindavan, you don't need to worship Indra. Govardhan is giving everything you need. For the cows, Govardhan gives the cool water and the fresh green grasses, which are the hairs of Giriraj's head standing on end. And when Giriraj cries in ecstasy, the tears from Giriraj's eyes pour forth in rivers, and Giriraj's Hari Dasya Varya. It's the most excellent devotee. And the reason why Giriraj is the most excellent devotee, because he not only supplies things, but supplies them out of love. The term in Sanskrit for one who is a servant is called sevak. And there's a saying in India, if you do this service, but without the mood of seva, begrudgingly, then you're not a sevak. You're just vak. Vak stands for Bakasura, the duck demon. You're no longer a servant. You're no longer a servant. So the calf represents affection. The cow, affection. The cows are the embodiment of affection. And therefore they're so dear to Krishna. Thinking of Vrindavan and my friend Prem Kishore's farm. Graham, I'll have to tell you how to get there. It's really near the temple when you go. You'll just love to spend time there. 10 minutes from the temple, a beautiful farm. And he has these beautiful cows. And their affection. Their affection. A friend of mine, Kormarupa, he has another place called Care for Cows. And he has a place called Care for Cows. And he told me he was reading an article. This is just another point. Reading an article that in RPI, Rensselaer Poly Institute, is a very prestigious engineering school right near Albany, top school. One of the scientists is isolating a bacteria in cow dung that's an antidepressant. And the understanding is, this, the Vedas means knowledge. They say people near cows, they never get depressed, actually. Because they're always breathing in these bacteria. Just for that, every part of it, the cow is so useful. Even the cow dung has bacteria. When you're making the women are always happy, they're making the cow dung patties and they put them on the walls, and all this antidepressant bacteria is just pervading the atmosphere. That's why we're so happy when we're in the temple here. See how intelligent Rob Matt's Swami is? Problem is people don't spend enough time in the temple. That's the problem with the Bhakti Center. They spend more time in the temple, everyone would be happy to smell the walls. So the opulence, so here, in this thing now, the inhabitants of Pitriloka, the planet of the ancestors, Pitriloka, the planet of the ancestors. And this is the custom in India. It's understood when your family members die that you can benefit them by performing oblations. This is a fact, just by being around India, I'm thinking of 2 top Sanskrit professors, very top Sanskrit professors, both PhDs in Sanskrit and incredible Vaishnava scholars. Independently, they told me that it actually works. And that even now, subtly, you may be receiving benefits from previous, ancestors in previous lives, your descendants in previous lives. You don't know. One told me that. Actually, it's the system. And therefore, when someone in your family dies, at least you should offer prasadam to the ancestors. I had one devotee, when I was preaching in Boston, this one guy in engineering school, Italian guy, pure Italian from both sides. His name is John Cherini. And that car I got, he bought me that car about 10 years ago, after he got out. And I remember, he was a smart guy, so he had a house, then he got this other little house to rent. He also came from the hardcore preaching, skateboarding, hardcore. Anyway, what happened is he wanted to have a program to institute this new house he bought. And he wanted everyone to come, and he was Italian. And I'm a marketing genius. So I thought, here's what you do. Go get your mother, he's Italian, and we'll make a festival called the Mother of All Italian Feast Festivals. Now, who wouldn't come to that festival? in Jersey too. The mother of all Italian. And we had so many intricacies of different preparations, and his mother was there cooking with him. So then Maharaj, then about 3 years ago, I got a call when I was in India, and it said that his father died. You know, he's very, very attached to his family. You know, his father died. So he said what we should do. So we say we sponsor a feast and we feed the Vaishnavas. And so I remember we had a picture of his father, and I have every year a Puri Yatra, where, you know, we have a nice little yatra. And, you know, that scholar, he would come to my festival every year. I told you, Dr. Fakir Mohan. He would come just to sit. Isn't it like 90 years old, you know, head of the chairman of the Department of Sanskrit, you know, so many qualities. He'd come to the festival and he'd sit and he would hear. And then we'd offer him once or twice, you also, you know, speak. But he would sit and hear. And so we had the thing, and we offered the prasadam to the father. So, you know, the feast was cooked. John Cherini sponsored it. We offered to Krishna. We put his father's picture there, and we offered the remnants. So I remember it. So it was John Cherini's father, a little thing, and then it was Dr. Fakir Mohan Jaya. But he was saying, oh, this is a fact. This is a fact. That there is a connection. If the son of the father offers some type of, and here it says either going to Gaya. Lord Chaitanya also went to Gaya when his father died. And the question came, this is interesting, the question came, why did he perform an activity of karma? When it's not necessary for the bhaktas, Lord Chaitanya could have just fed all the Vaishnavas. So why did he go all the way to Gaya? Of course, there's many transcendental reasons. He meets his guru there. And at that time, he's initiated. And he completely transforms. His identity is completely changed at that time. People can't even recognize him. Because he's serious about it. He made the commitment. I'm no longer the enjoyer of this world. I am now the servant of my guru. And because he took that seriously, he put himself in a position to actually get the full mercy of Krishna that came through the guru. So his initiation is a real initiation. He really surrendered. And because he really surrendered, he really got everything that initiation gives, which according to Bhakti Sandarbha is initiation means the transference of Divya Gyan. Divya Gyan means transcendental consciousness, which it means Sambandha Vishesh Gyan and Bhagavat Sarup Gyan. Bhagavat Sarup Gyan is you really understand who your Lord is in the heart. And Sambandha Vishesh Gyan, you also understand what your relationship is. So he had a complete change of identity. So there was things that happened there, but from an external point, why did he go? And the answer is he was performing karma, but it wasn't covering his bhakti, because he was performing the activities of oblation, these karmic activities, for the reason that it would be a social disturbance if he didn't do it. And that social disturbance would reflect bad on himself and Krishna consciousness. And that's the commentary that's given on Anya Bilashita Shunyam Jnana Karma Jnanavritam. The secondary characteristic of bhakti is Anya Bilashita Shunyam. There's no other desires left that are integral to the self, that you really make one with the self. You may have other incidental desires. I have to go to the bathroom doesn't mean you're not a pure devotee and you want to satisfy that desire. You act for self-preservation. That doesn't, save me, save me. It's not integral, it's not your core motives in life. These are incidental things that happen with the body. And jnana, karma, jnanavritam, and it's not covered by karma and jnana. And what's an example of not being covered by karma? The example is given Lord Chaitanya. He didn't do it because that was necessarily his faith in the rituals. Because here it says that for the performance of oblations, if one offers oblations with faith and devotion either to the lotus feet of Vishnu or to his representative